Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Rye on Listen Up. Thank you, KK. Ryan, excuse me for looking like I'm getting ready to go to bed. Actually, that's what we're about to do, right? Only heading on 9 o'clock. Look, it's great. First of all, great to be back with you and everybody else. I really apologize to miss the last recap. So, again, great to be back alongside of you. Ryan, big one tonight. Some downs, but overall, another great game. Can't wait to get into it with you and give you my take after your great recap. Probably in the second quarter, you're getting ready to rip that flag down behind you. But now we're starting to get in UConn Nation mode, right? UConn Nation mode. And I tell you, everybody knows that's probably more than likely to do with that live stream coming up, right, against South Carolina. So a little taste of what's to come. Ryan, what do you have for me? I mean, besides outside of UConn, what have we had? What have I missed so far in the sports world, specifically women's basketball? I can't really list everything right now, but I think what, other than this UConn win, what has the headline, the top spot, is Caitlin Clark getting slammed. All right. I never thought basketball was turning into tackle football. What do you have for me?
Yeah, and on the same night too, I think it was on the men's side, somebody got ran into. So some crazy stuff happening, including some more unfortunate bad news that I have to say before the game recap. Caroline Ducharme officially ruled out for the rest of the season due to her head and neck injury. So she said she's going to take the rest of the time during the season and the off season to try to recover and hopefully heal up for the next season. So thoughts and prayers go out to Caroline as she continues to try to heal up from these head and neck injuries. So hopefully she can continue healthy for the next season. But this was kind of KK Arnold's homecoming game for the year. She's from Germantown, Wisconsin, and the game today, of course, being played in Milwaukee, about 25 minutes, I think, away from her hometown. And last year in Milwaukee, UConn lost to the same Marquette team. The hometown team, Golden Eagles, got off to a pretty good start. It looked like they were a step ahead of UConn to start this game. Paige hit a three to start the scoring, but a couple minutes later, Paige took a charge and banged her knee with another player. She was out for a couple minutes, but thankfully was able to return after the media timeout and straight away scored two straight buckets. Just as Paige Bueckers does. A really even game, though, after the first 10 minutes. Both teams with good ball movement and both playing a bend but don't break sort of defense. Paige and Aaliyah were leading the charge for UConn in the first quarter as the Huskies took just a 1 point lead into the second. I must say I was impressed by Marquette's offense, and this is kind of what I was expecting from them in the first matchup when we played in Stores in UConn when they were undefeated. But of course, with Marquette being home, you had to think they were going to play a little bit better during this game. UConn had a little foul trouble brewing in the second quarter with KK on 2 fouls and Aaliyah with 3 midway through the second quarter, and she actually had to sit out for the remainder of the second half. And just when I thought UConn, you mentioned I was going to tear this UConn flag down behind me, just when I thought they were about to struggle, in a blink of an eye, they went on a 21-9 run for the final 4 minutes to bolster their lead to 11 points going into halftime. And just before the half, Marquette hits a three. Paige Bueckers takes the inbound and absolutely drills a half-court shot. So maybe a little momentum boost for UConn going into the second half. And I would say they did a pretty good job carrying that momentum into the second half. The Husky offense really started to open up and just straight out dominate. Everybody started to eat, as we like to say. Paige got up past 20 points. Aaliyah got to a double-double. Nika, KK, and Ashlyn all got to double-digit points, and Marquette just couldn't keep up with the pace the Huskies were playing at. It's pretty incredible to watch UConn when they go on these offensive runs where it just seems like they can't miss from the floor. They make it look so easy, so effortless. Marquette's deficit grows to 20 points as we go into the final quarter. And I must say, I really did like UConn's team defense tonight. Everybody had a solid shooting night again, really efficient on offense, good shooting percentages from the field, like we're used to seeing. But there were multiple instances where tonight the team defense really made a difference, playing a big role in stopping Marquette, especially in that second half. UConn shot 11 from 17 from downtown tonight. Paige Bueckers, another 20-plus point game. She had 26. Ashlyn Shade scored 15. Nika and KK had 13 each. And Aaliyah Edwards with another double-double, this time 10 points, 12 rebounds, as UConn flies past the Marquette Golden Eagles 85-59.
All right. I appreciate that. Again, our thoughts and prayers with Caroline Ducharme. I'm glad you told me about that, Ryan. But yeah, let me tell you, man, between Mackenzie Hare, Carlin, Jordan King, I mean, boy, I mean, this gives you a little taste, rather, of what's to come in March. Unfortunately, I got news for UConn, as of all teams, Ryan. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? That's just the way it's supposed to be as you get in any kind of playoff format, no matter what sport you're talking about, unless that team is just totally dominating for whatever reason. As you get closer to your goal, champions, the competition is supposed to get, increase at every round. So yeah, I think that they mentioned about UConn, that 18-point run in about 3 minutes in the second, to really open the game up in the lead. And someone mentioned about how it's not because Marquette wasn't scoring. Okay. It's because, and anybody, as far as that goes, anybody that plays UConn, it's not because the ball's not falling in the net. It's because UConn has the ability to come up on you, like, just like out of the wind. Here they come, like a true Husky running in the snow, right, Ryan? Just like them text messages I'm always sending you, them pictures. What do they call them, Ryan? In pictures that I'm always sending you, the UConn Husky just darting across the field, running in the snow. Oh boy, we love to see that, huh? But no, really, yeah, and I think that's what, because when you talk about Aaliyah Edwards, now I'm just going to tell how it is. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Ryan, absolutely terrible. No, Aaliyah Edwards is Aaliyah Edwards. But in my opinion, kind of a disappointment so far from the way that she played. What was it? Her breakout season last year. But hey, it's not too late to turn it around. Here we are approaching the end of January, Ryan. I wanted to get your take on that, because what does that do to this whole team? See if Aaliyah Edwards can get going. She's, you mentioned the foul trouble, but again, boy, would you like to see her turn it up, because hey, Ryan, February's almost here. So you know what that means. And that leaves them a one-dimensional down there in the paint as a forward with, guess who? The only, and I guess what? She struggled a little bit with turnovers, and that is Ice Brady. Okay. So I'd like to see Aaliyah Edwards gear up, get into another gear as we approach February. With that said, now I'm not saying other teams can't do this, but if you had to ask me, I totally agree. And it's arguably UConn, once we get to March here, UConn is one of the better teams in this nation to all of a sudden just, they're playing in a tie game. They're playing a couple points down, but a game of runs. You told me that from day one, right? When we started talking about basketball, a game of runs. And I think they want to talk about the power forward so much, UConn, the lack of size. I never thought about it that way, Ryan. Think about it. I think, how about a game of runs, many game of runs in March, right? Because you talked about that great defense, but how about let's go on runs, even if UConn's struggling in March, let's go on runs, big runs. And that's what happened tonight.
Yeah, and I really hope they can keep that up, because that's really, I think, what's going to propel them. And every single game is just, when it seems like they just can't really get anything going from the offensive end, all of a sudden they just shift into another gear, and really everybody, it just seems like they can't miss So the way they're able to shift the momentum in their favor is pretty fun to watch. And I think for Aaliyah Edwards, I mean, she has 8 double doubles this season. I think she's had a couple in a row here for the past couple games. So I think Aaliyah's playing pretty good. And I think Ice Brady as well had a pretty solid night tonight off the bench. But I think we're kind of seeing UConn being able to win without a lot of size, and you don't really always have to win with a ton of size. So it's nice to see UConn doing so good, continuing to do so good with their smaller lineup. And I think Aaliyah Edwards, Ice Brady with the two biggest players down low for UConn, I think also doing a pretty solid job. So, I think they're going to continue to dominate with their offense, but I think like we saw tonight, their defense can also step up and really help the team win in a lot of different ways as well.
All right, how about a couple comments, Ryan? Jason D'Amico, great job, Rye. I really did think that DePaul was going to put up more of a fight, but Paige and company made short work of them. By the middle of the second quarter, we were already playing not to get hurt. Peace.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just kind of the shift of momentum that UConn is able to create. That's kind of incredible to just continue to watch every single game. And I really did think Marquette the same way in this game. They were going to be able to kind of keep it close there in the second half. And just like we keep seeing with UConn's opponents, they just fall off and aren't able to keep pace, match the same energy as UConn in the second quarters, the second half of these games. And that's really when UConn takes advantage and really starts to pull away for the rest of the game.
Philip Watley, teams are going to be bigger, but the Huskies' pace is what is wearing teams down. I would hate having to chase Paige around the court as a four. We can clearly see when that happens, it's opening up the middle of the court.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of the size, I really don't think it matters anymore because I think UConn just kind of has the mindset that pretty much every team is going to be bigger than them. And Marquette, a very good rebounding team, usually out rebounds everybody that they play. And UConn out rebounded them by about 10 tonight, I believe. So, I think UConn doing a good job, doing a better job each game of kind of team rebounding, everybody crashing the boards, and that's the mindset they're going to have moving forward as they play these tougher opponents. That pretty much every team is going to be bigger than them, but if everybody can crash the boards and come together, I think they can really challenge these teams in terms of the boards and match them in that numbers category.
Sabrina checked in on X. UConn has been absolutely clinical over this 12-game win streak. No one more so than Paige Bueckers, shooting better than 70% on twos and 50% on threes. Gonna be a fun matchup against Sonia Citron and Notre Dame this weekend. Well, Ryan, thanks to Sabrina, she for her checking into X, she basically took care of the conclusion of this episode for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all really excited for that Notre Dame game. You told me nationally televised on Fox, so that's fun as well. It's been a while since UConn's had even a televised game, so I'm glad they're getting the recognition they deserve. Both teams in this instance, two really good teams. Of course, the game I believe at Gamble Pavilion, so it should be really fun in Stores, Connecticut. I'm sure the place is going to be rocking. I believe Notre Dame ranked 15th in the latest poll as well. So top 15 matchup, pretty late one on Saturday. I know we can't wait for it.
Yeah, that's for sure, Ryan. I will see you Thursday night for the last check-in, arguably the biggest check-in so far this year. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.